Just like people, bread comes in many shapes, sizes, and tastes. Whether you're hungry for a slice of pizza or jonesing for some sourdough, your preference says a lot about you. It's been said that bread is the great uniter. I would have to agree. Every culture may have its own version, but like art, bread is born from our creative spirit, and that's what connects us across the globe. It's diverse, unique, and quite often memorable. Join me on this journey as we discuss not only bread, but also life with a wide array of characters. My name's Jim Serpico, and this is Bread for the People. Today I sit down with Britney Brown-Chamberlain, the founder of the food and photography blog Britney Breaks Bread. Britney's blog is fascinating. She shares stories about her family, tips on how to take great photos of food, and she shares flavor-filled recipes that you can easily make at home. Britney's motto is behind every recipe is a story, and she's doing everything she can to share those stories. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Britney. All right, Britney, thank you so much for agreeing to talk with me.
No, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to meet with you today.
Your Instagram is amazing. Your blog and your website is out of control. I was curious to hear a little more about exactly what you have going on. And the first question I have for you is, did you always know this is what you were going to be doing at this point in your life?
Absolutely not. It couldn't be further from what I thought I was going to be doing. I have a background in science. I started college as pre-med, and then I kind of pivoted to cancer research in the clinical field. And then one day I randomly on a whim decided to start a blog. And I mean, I had this whole thing mapped out as far as what I was going to do professionally. I was going to become a project manager, I was going to do all these things. And then I started a food blog, and that kind of just completely couldn't be further from what my plan was.
Well, now, if I had to define, if someone asked me what does Britney do,
Mhm.
I would say she has a food blog. She teaches the home baker how to make easy to prepare recipes for every day as well as holidays. She's a food stylist. She's a photographer. Does that sum it up?
It does. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I would say I'm a pretty everyday, cook. I like to, I like food that tastes good. I'm an avid traveler. And yeah, I think that all of those things together was definitely sum it up for sure.
Oh, that's so cool. In terms of the traveling, what do you mean by an avid traveler? Like, do you take vacations, or is that something you go out of your way to do often? And if so, how do you do that?
Yeah, sure. Pre-COVID, I definitely went out of my way to make sure we traveled at least 2 to 3 times a year. My grandmother was a travel agent. She is currently 94, but she traveled up into her early 90s, like I want to say 91, 92. And so when I was a kid, she always made sure that, she wanted to show me the world. I think my first trip was when I was like 4 years old. And we went to Jamaica, and I just fell in love with just the whole rigmarole of travel and going, exploring new places, experiencing new cultures, new foods, just immersing myself in something that I couldn't find here in the States. And so that kind of stuck with me throughout my whole life. I did semester at sea when I was 23. And we went to 16 different countries, all about Europe, Africa, South America. And we even stopped in Cuba. We were the first fleet to visit Cuba ever, especially since I think this was actually just before the embargo was lifted. And so that was pretty cool. But yeah, travel is a huge part of my life. It's a means of how I define myself. And it's also influenced a lot of my cooking.
That's pretty great. An amazing gift that your grandmother gave you to expose
Sure.
you to all that, as well as the world of travel. What program were you studying at sea?
It's called Semester at Sea.
Hmm.
At the time, it was through University of Virginia. I studied at Penn State, so I was considered like I guess technically a transfer student for that one semester. But yeah, it was the University of Virginia at the time. I think they're currently functioning out of Denver. They need a house or a home university. I went to Penn State and did semester at sea through another school.
Now, I noticed that you list in things about you that you play the bassoon and piano. Now,
Yeah.
bassoon is not something that people list and say, "Ah, I just fool around with the bassoon." You have
Yeah.
you have to be pretty serious about the bassoon to list it.
Yeah. So also my grandmother, she's a pianist and she sat me down when I was 6 years old. She said, "You're going to learn how to play piano." And so I've always had like I guess a musical gift. And I was going into high school and I wanted to play piano with the orchestra. And my cousin, who played the bassoon, she was phenomenal. She was graduating as I was entering into my freshman year. And so the director of or the conductor of the orchestra essentially was like, "Oh, you're Ashley's cousin. She's good at the bassoon. We're going to get you on the bassoon too to see if this this goes in the family, if this stays in the family." And it did. I picked it up pretty naturally, and I had my cousin there to help me, learn all the tricks and give me all the tips as to how to become a better bassoonist. But that's kind of how no, it's not something like it's not like a violin or a piano or a flute.
Right.
Yeah, bassoon is kind of like a deep cut.
Absolutely. So when you're stressed out right now
Hmm.
and things are just crazy, you whip out the bassoon and sit by the window and play a tune to
You
wind down.
know, I wish that when I was stressed out, I was able to do that. Usually, when I'm stressed out, I just end up having to work more.
Right.
Um, but, but yeah, I need to play more than I actually do with a baby and running my blog full time now. Things get pretty hectic, and I don't get to do my music as much as I used to. So one
Yeah.
day, yeah,
One
one day
day.
back
I,
into
I,
it.
I kind of share a little bit of that with you. I went to school for jazz trumpet,
Oh,
and
stop.
yeah, and I don't really play much anymore. But my father was a musician. Every once in a while, I kind of keep it around. Just in fact, there's one 5 feet from me,
Uh-huh.
but I don't really play it. It's like something that you you can't really just pick up once a month,
Right.
which is one of the reasons. Like when I realized I didn't want to do that for a living, I kind of put it behind me. Was that a bird?
Oh, that's my son. I'm sorry.
That's awesome. That's great. So
Yeah.
yeah, I miss playing. One day maybe I will pick it up.
Yeah, I really miss playing with orchestras too, because that was a real source of like enjoyment for me, especially in high school. I really miss that. It's pretty cool that you play jazz trumpet because I pieces of me can still hear the trumpet section behind me blurting out loud notes. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm missing a piece of my hearing because of all
Yeah,
the trumpets.
yeah, man,
But yeah, no,
totally.
it's pretty cool.
But it's interesting on how that music background inspires a lot of how I hear music,
Hmm.
how I feel creatively, or
Hmm.
listen to different types of music to get inspired, even
Hmm.
to bake. Yeah, I'm so happy that I had that part of my life and kind of still consider myself a musician, even
For
though
sure.
I don't play every day.
I
Uh,
think it stays with you, you
oh,
know?
absolutely.
It never leaves, regardless as to how much you practice. I think a piece of me will always, be sitting there in that chair, honking around on my bassoon, whether it's in my hand or not.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
so I consider this a little bit of a business podcast, even though it's around food. And if you're cool talking about it,
Hmm.
like you're very specific here, and I bet you there's a lot of people out there that listen that love the idea of, hey, I'd love to be a food blogger.
Hmm.
I'd love to be a food stylist, but I'm not sure that everyone knows what goes into this. I know from running my social media for the bread bakery that I have that it's very difficult to get uh, the photos and the marketing at the level you have it. I mean, what you're doing is incredible, and
Thank you.
I aspire for our things to look as good as yours. How long did it really take you to figure out how to get to this point? And what I mean by that is like aesthetically, everything's just perfect. The photographs, the backgrounds, the props.
Well, if you ever need a food photographer, just let me know.
Okay. Okay.
But I started on my phone October 2019. And I mean, if I look back at my pictures back then, I mean, golly, it was terrible. But I took a couple courses, and just from the people that I follow that are my friends, people that I'm inspired by on social media,
Yeah.
I get so much inspiration from them, as far as like, each scene that I take for each recipe. Um, it's really competitive out here, but it's also a beautiful community as far as people willing to give you advice. If I say, "Hey, what do you think about this picture?" and I'm like, "Why do you have an onion?" This is it's something, I don't know, it's a cake. Why is there an onion in the background? You know what I mean? Just not specifically that, but I guess more to your point, to answer your question. It took me like maybe a year and a half to really get my photos to the point where I wasn't saying, okay, throw it away, start again.
Right.
Um, a lot of practice, a lot of hard work goes into it, a lot of money goes into it because cameras are not cheap,
Right.
especially lenses. You can get a good camera for under $1,000, but these lenses they cost they're not cheap. And so I think I really dedicated myself to the craft, and I just had a real passion for it.
Sure.
And so it took about a good year and a half, maybe 2 years. I actually didn't really feel fully confident in my photos until maybe like sometime earlier this year. And now I'm trying to dabble with artificial light, and I'm starting all over again. So
Right.
it's just a never ending battle to try and make sure you're keeping up.
Yeah. Were you pretty well versed in photography in general, or at least the camera from your travels and using a camera on
Oh
your
no, I've
no?
always used my phone.
Okay.
Yeah, always used my phone, until February 2020. Yeah, February, just before the pandemic started, I got a camera.
And
Uh,
do you have a routine that it's like your Monday through Friday is every day like set with a certain routine, or does it depend on a project?
it's all the above. I mean, I probably am doing something if I'm not cooking, if I'm not taking photos, if I'm not doing keyword research. I'm doing something for my blog 7 days a week. There are some times where I just say, you know what, no, stop it, go to bed, or go outside, take a breather.
Yeah.
But it's a 24/7 kind of job.
So keyword research. Tell us a little bit about that and how to use it.
Oh, so I am not an SEO expert. I wish that I was. One day I will be, prayerfully. But essentially, it's certain words that you put in your blog post to basically appease the Google gods so that you get more traffic to your site.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, for instance, like if I have a chocolate cupcake recipe, you know, as you can imagine, how many people do you think are Googling chocolate cupcakes? It's probably thousands and thousands upon people a day. So if I post that recipe on my blog, it's going to kind of get buried in the search results. But if I put in something like chocolate cupcakes with chocolate ganache frosting, or something like that, it's called a long tail keyword, and it kind of, I guess, in a way, sets you apart. It's a less competitive term to use for your website. And so basically you're just trying to you're trying to appease the algorithm so that Google will show your specific recipe amongst the millions of recipes out there on the first page of the search results.
Now, how do you use Instagram differently than you use your blog?
So Instagram is basically a tool, that I use to divert traffic to my blog. And it's also a means of getting to know people, letting people see, kind of the real you, what goes on behind the scenes, and just a fun place to display your photography or your reels, as Instagram is really pushing now. And so I kind of use, my main use of Instagram or any social media is to divert traffic to my blog, but also to get to know people, sometimes answer questions, talk to friends. Yeah, that's differently. But as far as I work for my blog. My blog is mine. Instagram is owned by a bunch of other people who are making way more money than I could ever fathom. And so I use it and so that I can also get a piece of that pie and make money too from my blog.
Oh man, that's a really good way to look at it. Good way to
Mm-hmm.
break it all down. So your blog has several different sections. So if we start talking about the recipes,
Mm-hmm.
are those inspired by your travels?
It's inspired by everything, honestly. Like I love to eat. I like good food. Sometimes I'm inspired by my travels. Sometimes I'm inspired by the things that I ate growing up. Other times I'm inspired by things I saw my friends make, and I'm like, that is really cool. I wonder if I could make it my own. And sometimes it's also I'm inspired by seasonal ingredients. I especially love baking in the fall. I love to make soups and stews in the winter, light foods in the summer, so on and so forth. And so I would say I have a strong emphasis on baking, but I do try to keep things well rounded in the sense that I like to have everyday recipes on the blog, appetizers that you can have for any party that you like. I try to do some fun breakfast recipes. I mean, I like to, keep things as versatile as possible.
And are these recipes all available for free?
Yep, yep. All available for free.
That's pretty amazing.
I do have a holiday cookbook that's $20.
Okay.
With all the warm and cozy treats to make during the holidays, especially for your holiday dinner. But that's the only thing that I have that's, payable on my website.
Sure. So that book's available right off your website?
Oh, yeah. Yep. If you go to the ebook link on my website, you can snag the book there.
All right, at BritneyBreaksBread.com.
That's correct.
Have you had any failures you would like to share with us?
Failures as far as like recipes are concerned,
Yeah,
or like,
recipes.
oh, I mean, come on, every day. I have a cherry almond cake that I have been trying to perfect for Lord knows how long. I mean, I have a running recipe list on my phone, like when I'm, say for instance, I'm driving and I'm like, I wonder if that'll be a good idea for the blog. And I jot it down. I'm making my way through that list. I mean, sometimes you have to cross off two or three things before you get something that's worth putting up.
Right.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Are there any foods that you personally can't stand, therefore you don't make anything with them?
Goat cheese.
Goat cheese.
Goat cheese, I find to be repulsive. It is disgusting. It tastes like stomach acid.
I love goat cheese, but I do know a lot of people, including some of my kids, who don't like goat cheese.
I just can't. Like, I can't. The thing is, like, I'll eat just about anything except goat cheese, and I always know when it's in something. I'm like, oh, something's not right about this. Oh.
Really?
Yeah, like I can always spot it, and yeah, I'm not eating it if it's in there. I also don't really care for lamb.
Mm,
Um, but I mean, that's about it. Only because it's got that weird gamey taste.
definitely does, and sometimes more than others.
Yeah, yeah. And it could be also too because when I was a kid, my father gave me some lamb and he told me it was a burger, and burgers are my favorite food.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, "This is not a burger," and he's like, "No, I'm just kidding. It's lamb." And I was like, "Yeah, this is a no. This is not gonna work for me."
That makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, do you bake any bread?
Yeah, I do bake bread. Not very often. I know it's like, not on par with my name or the name of the blog, but I have quite a few bread recipes up. I know that you're the bread expert.
Yeah, I try to be. I'm trying to learn. I try to
Yeah,
learn.
yeah. Do you do sourdough?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I tried sourdough in the craze of 2020, and I maybe had like one successful sourdough bake. It is so difficult.
It's tough. I'm going on 2 years of like every day now, so
Oh, really?
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It gets you get more familiar with it, just like
Uh,
anything. When you put in the hours, and
uh,
you start to take more risks. You have opportunity to try new things in new ways.
for sure.
Um, but you also need, the tools. Not everyone has the same things. Like I didn't have enough refrigeration to do long cold ferments for a long time,
Hmm.
and now I do. So that's something I'm really getting into and enjoying, and
That's
it
awesome.
it, it kind of changes everything up.
Hmm.
So where are you based out of now?
I live in Laurel, Maryland.
Okay,
Yeah, it's about 20 minutes outside of DC, 20 minutes south of Baltimore.
got it.
And so, yeah, that's where I'm at.
And do you go out to the restaurants in the cities a lot and check out what's going on? Because those cities have some great places, right?
Oh my gosh, so many amazing places in both DC and Baltimore. And not bad here either. I mean, I know nobody's probably really heard of Laurel, Maryland, but there's there's a couple places out here that are pretty good too. But I go into the city sometimes. I would say maybe a couple times a month. Not as
Okay.
much as I used to. Like, I have a kid now. Still, the whole COVID thing is kind of freaky. But yeah, I would say a couple times a month we go out and venture into the city.
And in terms of the coaching and clients that you have, what is that? Is that people who have other social media accounts? Is it people who cook?
So I don't really coach on an official basis. Like if someone reaches out to me and would like some advice, I'm always an open book and willing to impart any knowledge that I have attained over the years. But as far as, teaching, I don't really do that either.
Okay. I thought I
Yeah.
saw something about recipe consulting.
So yeah, that's so if a company reaches out to me and they want like recipe development, I will formulate a recipe for them and as well as do the sometimes companies want a blog post, other times companies may want a recipe sold to them. And so that's kind of what I do in that realm.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And in photography too, of course.
sure.
Mhm.
Now on the business side and logistical side, your website is has a lot of information, but it's very simply laid out.
Oh, good. That's always what you want to hear.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I'm striving for something like that myself.
Mhm.
I kind of I had someone help me at the very beginning, but I do a lot of it myself, and I don't want to do it anymore. Did you do this all by yourself?
So as far as the design, no, I hired out for that.
Mm-hmm.
Sayville Rowe designed it and Made to Thrive coded it and made it all pretty and stuff. But as for the text, all the copy that's on the site, yes, that is me. I wrote all the things. It doesn't really come naturally to me either, so that's why it was such a compliment for you to say that. But I try to make it as if I'm speaking to you. I don't want it to be like super. I don't know the word kitschy, like, oh my God, try this. You have just the best thing you ever eat. You know what I mean? I want it to be like a normal conversation. Like,
Yeah.
look, this braised beef recipe is amazing. You need to try it. If you don't like it, you're crazy. Like, I try to keep it as if it's a conversation as opposed to me trying to sell you on something.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what people love about it. It's not a hard sell. Um,
Thank you.
if you had to recommend, if people were going to your site and
Yeah.
checking out some recipes, do you have a couple of favorites over the others?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Yeah, it's like asking to pick your favorite kid.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's easy for me. I don't like choosing.
so my more recent recipes are all things that I really love because I've been eating them currently.
Yeah.
But my slow cooker barbecue pulled pork recipe is phenomenal.
Okay.
My
Yep.
salted caramel macarons are amazing. Um,
Wait, let's stop right there. Uh, I thought macarons are really hard to make.
Oh my gosh, they are not easy to make at all. Like it literally, you have to pray and like manifest and speak into existence like the perfect macarons. Like they are it. And the reason I only have one recipe, I want to do more, but the reason I only have one recipe was when I first started my blog. I like made them 3 times and I failed. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And so recently, I got a bunch of piping bags. I got all this stuff to like make it pretty seamless to make macarons. I got the macaron silpat, the whole nine. And I'm like, I'm gonna do this. It's gonna happen. And it did.
What's a silpat?
It's like these silicone mats for your baking sheets.
Oh, silmat. Got it. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And so it makes it so that you don't have to deal with parchment paper, especially for macarons. It's important because the silpat with the macaron silpat, they already have the circles on it and they're all the same size. And I don't know about you, but I mean, if I were to draw circles on a parchment paper, I mean, it looked terrible.
Right.
So it's good that it's already done for me. And yeah, so they are not easy to make at all. But I think the blog post that I wrote on it makes them pretty simple to do because there's a lot of steps. But if you do everything as per the instructions, which of course years ago I was not, like you can do it, it's not an impossible feat. Like you just got to follow the instructions and really pay attention. It's not the type of thing that you can make mindlessly.
Okay.
Like I feel like I could like roast broccoli, just salt, pepper, garlic, throw it in the oven, and it'll be fine. You know what I mean? But with macarons, you really have to like focus.
I'm looking at this recipe. Does this happen to be gluten free?
It is gluten free, yeah, because you use almond flour,
Yeah.
which gives it that chewy consistency.
Right.
And so yeah, they're naturally gluten free.
So prep time is 2.5 hours. How much are you in person for the 2.5 hours? Do you have
So for majority of it,
really? Oh,
like,
yeah. That's why I'm not doing this.
yeah, especially for this recipe, especially for this recipe because you have to make the salted caramel and you have to make the filling. It's a vanilla bean buttercream. And so with any other macaron recipe, I mean, it probably would still be 2 hours, but actively prepping would be probably about an hour. Because the macarons, once they're piped onto the silpat, they need to dry.
Right.
And so, you're literally just sitting them out on a table, like just waiting for them to develop a skin on top. And you can't miss that. You can't skip that skip that you cannot skip that step because if you skip that step, they're not gonna rise in the oven. They're just gonna kind of be like flat discs. They'll taste good, but they won't look good. Trust me, it's happened to me.
Right.
But
Right.
but yeah, with this recipe, while the macarons are actually drying, you have to make the salted caramel and you also have to make the buttercream filling. And so that's kind of why the whole time you are actually cooking.
Jeez.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'll save this for like a big snowstorm here in New York,
I'm
and,
telling you.
and then I'll
Yeah.
try it.
Yeah, you got to let me know because I mean, I've gotten quite a few comments on it. Like people are really loving this recipe and it makes me so happy. So you absolutely got to let me know how you do.
All right. Then I'm scrolling through. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna pick one out here. Um, you grapefruit margaritas.
Yeah,
Okay.
those are good.
Let's talk about that.
Sure, sure. Let's do it. It's Taco Tuesday too, so
There you go.
these would be great to make with your tacos for dinner.
So,
um,
so what I'm looking at this. We got like a little orange liqueur.
the control, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Uh, is it grapefruit soda?
No, it's legit great. Well, actually, wait, hold on. For this recipe, I think it was grapefruit. No, it's grapefruit juice.
Okay.
Yeah. And I added a little bit of pomegranate juice for this as well. It makes it so good and it kind of smooths out that tartness that you get from grapefruit.
Yep.
A little bit of agave nectar for sweetness. And then you add in your tequila, a little bit of control, some lime juice. It is perfect. It's so good. And I mean, it's got grapefruit in it, so it's healthy, right?
Absolutely. Get your vitamin C.
Exactly.
If that's what's in grapefruit, I don't even know.
I mean, it probably is. It's a fruit, so it's got to
Yeah.
have some vitamin C, right?
It's gotta have it. All right. So listen,
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time here. I think everyone listening should check out Britney's blog, BritneyBreaksBread.com. Lots of tons of types of recipes, right? Appetizers, quick dinners, drinks. It goes deeper than that. I really love what you do, and I know how hard it is because I'm kind of a one-person shop here, and you have to have this certain personality that wants to work and do the best you can, and I know you have that.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of hard work, and it's all worth it in the end when you've got a great meal in front of you.
Absolutely. Well, keep up the good work, and let's stay in touch.
All right, will do. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
That was Britney Brown-Chamberlain, founder of Britney Breaks Bread. This episode was produced by Milestone TV and Film and edited by Rick Beck. If you have a moment, go to our YouTube channel and check out our podcasts, which are now streaming. You can find me, Jim Serpico, selling bread at farmers markets across Long Island. Blessed be the bread, everyone.